You know that feeling, right? It's late, you're scrolling through your phone, and you tell yourself, okay, just one more video. But then you look up at the clock and bam, a whole hour has just vanished. We've all been there. It's this weird modern struggle that feels like it's about more than just wasting time. Today, we're going to dig into why that pull is so incredibly strong, and more importantly, what you can actually do about it. Now, that is an intense statement from our source material. I mean, comparing scrolling to smoking? But think about it. While the physical dangers are obviously different, the argument here is that we're dealing with a psychological addiction that is just so pervasive. The sheer number of people caught in this cycle is way bigger than the number of smokers on the entire planet. And hey, that comparison isn't just for shock value. As you can see here, the psychological hooks are, well, they're disturbingly similar. You've got a chemical substance on one side and digital content on the other, but both can trigger real withdrawal symptoms, like a huge spike in anxiety. It's a powerful emotional dependency that just keeps us coming back for more. So, here's our game plan for this explainer. First, we're going to look at just how big this modern addiction really is. Then, we'll pull back the curtain on the psychological trick that basically turns your phone into a slot machine. After that, we'll do the math on the incredibly high cost of all this scrolling. And then, the important part, we'll go through how to break that cycle and finally make your phone your tool, not your master. All right, let's dive right in. Because to really understand the solution, we've got to get our heads around the sheer scale of the problem we're all facing. This chart, wow, it lays out a pretty stark reality. Our source points out that for a lot of us, daily screen time, that huge bar on the left, is hitting a staggering 7 to 9 hours a day. Now just look at how it absolutely dwarfs the time we spend on some of the most basic, fundamental human things. Less than an hour with our family, and less than an hour moving our bodies. We're literally trading our lives for the glow of a screen, and half the time we don't even realize it's happening. So why? Why is it so ridiculously hard to just put the phone down? What makes these apps feel like a magnet for our eyeballs? Well, the answer isn't that you have no willpower. Nope. It's a very deliberate design, a design that turns your phone into a little casino you carry around in your pocket. It all comes down to this really powerful psychological principle called intermittent reinforcement. Seriously, just think about a slot machine. You pull the lever, but you have no idea if you're going to win. It's that unpredictable, maybe, that possibility of a reward that keeps you glued to the seat. Social media is engineered on that exact same principle. Every single time you pull down to refresh your feed, you're pulling a digital lever, hoping for a little prize. And this shows you the loop it creates perfectly. It starts with this little unconscious urge, right? Maybe you're just bored for a second. So you pull to refresh, what's the lever pull? And then sometimes you get a random reward. Could be a funny video, could be a like on your post, that gives you a tiny little hit of dopamine, the brain's pleasure chemical that says, hey, that was nice, let's do that again. And that little chemical reward locks in the behavior, making you want to pull that lever again and again, trapping you right inside the loop. So this loop, it builds, and it has a massive cost. We tend to think of it as just wasted time, but when you actually add it all up over a lifetime, the real price is so much higher than you can even imagine. Before I show you this next slide, I want you to really genuinely think about this question. What's the price you're willing to pay? How many years of your one precious life would you consciously agree to trade away just to stare at a screen? 10 years. That's the number our source calculates. If you spend just 3 hours a day on your phone, and for many people the average is much higher, that adds up to over 87,000 hours in a lifetime. That is a full decade. A decade of your life gone, spent scrolling. And this chart really puts that decade into perspective. I mean, think about it. Once you take out all the time you're going to spend sleeping and working, you're left with this much smaller piece of the pie that is your actual life. And that mindless scrolling, it's not just taking up a little time, it's carving a huge chunk right out of your actual conscious free life. Okay, that was the bad news. The good news is you are not powerless here, not at all. Once you understand the machine, you can start taking it apart. So let's get into the practical, actionable steps you can take to break this cycle and get that time back. Here are 5 really powerful strategies from our source. Number 1, go grayscale. Seriously, turn your phone's screen black and white. When you take away all those bright, shiny, rewarding colors, your phone suddenly becomes way less interesting. 2, add friction. Get those social media apps off your home screen. Hide them in a folder so you have to actively search for them. 3. Use an interstitial app. It's a simple app that just makes you pause and take a breath for a few seconds before another app opens. That tiny little pause can be just enough to snap you out of that unconscious habit. 4. Set time limits. And 5. Turn off all non-essential notifications. Every single buzz and ping is just another invitation to get sucked back into the loop. And let's be super clear here. The goal isn't to go live in a cabin and throw your phone in a lake. Technology is an amazing, powerful tool. The goal is to shift from being a mindless consumer to an intentional user. It's about you choosing when and why you engage, instead of just being pulled in on autopilot. Which brings us to our final and honestly most important section. This is all about reframing your entire relationship with these incredibly powerful platforms. Because we have to acknowledge these platforms are not inherently evil, not at all. They offer some unbelievable benefits, right? We have access to more information than any other generation in human history. We can connect with people all over the globe, and we have the chance to monetize pretty much any skill you can think of. The potential for good here is absolutely immense. So ultimately, it just boils down to this. Who's in control? Is the technology serving your goals, your values in your life? Or are you serving its goal, which is simply to capture as much of your attention as humanly possible? The choice really is yours. So I'll leave you with this really powerful question from our source. It is so easy to say, yeah, I'll deal with this one day. But one day might never come. The other option is to decide that today is day one. Day one of you taking back control, of using these tools with intention, and of choosing consciously how you spend the precious, finite moments of your life. So what are you going to choose?